everyone. For those who don't know me, I'm Kat. I'm a wife, a homeschool mom, and an avid reader. We are going to do a little bit different this video. I'm going to talk primarily about the ARCs that I have that are releasing in the month of August. The first one is The 13th Husband. And this one is about a woman who has this basically horrible luck. She woke up one night when she was young to see the woman in white in her window, and her father dies that night. And then later on throughout her life, she's going to see the woman in white several more times and end up with a total of 13 husbands. And there's one point where I guess she's at a seance and is told that her 13th husband would be the death of her. And this one comes out on August 6th. So it will already be out by the time this video is up. But I do want to share my thoughts as kind of I go along with you on what I feel about this book and any other ARCs I have that I'm reading in August. So far I am 25% in. I am enjoying the book, and I'm actually finding myself my life at this exact moment is not it's normal. You'll notice a different background. I am at my sister's house across the country, and I'm helping her out with her kids while she is recovering from being in the hospital. And so with there being 4 kids, and I normally only have one, life is a little bit busier. Those of you who have multiples, I am super in awe of all you do. But that being said, I'm not picking up the book just to read little bits and pieces, a paragraph here or there, like I would at home. Because once I start this book, I definitely get drawn in, and I don't want to stop reading, and that makes it hard for trying to help out around the house and watching 4 kiddos and making sure that everyone is safe, happy, and healthy. And so we just I set my book to the side during most of the day, and I try to find nuggets of time that I can devote to reading. That's mostly in the morning and right before bed. Basically when the kids are in bed. So, that being said, I'm really enjoying this, and and being bombarded by children. But I am okay. Good morning. I am now 2/3 of the way through The 13th Husband. It's actually the 9th of August, and those of you who have more than one kid, I definitely applaud you. I have had very little time for reading this past week. Since I'm here in Oregon with my sister and her kids, helping her out. Even though currently we are down to 2, that's double what I have at home and a lot more energy. when I had all 4 of them, I would read maybe 2 pages a day. It was basically just reading enough to wind down at the end of the day. But from the time that I woke up in the morning until just about the time I went to bed, I was with the kids, and they are very active and they want all of the attention. So it made it hard for sneaking in reading time like I normally would do at home. When my daughter gets on Minecraft, she is all in Minecraft. She's on chat with her friends, and things like that. Out here, it's been a little different with all 4. Even when they were all on a device, they wanted to show me what they were doing. They wanted to share with me, which is great, and I love that relationship building. The only downside is it made it very difficult to read, because I would start to read and then I'd have to pause, and then start to read and have to pause. So I never got very far in my reading. But we are down to just 2 right now, and I'm able to sneak in a little bit more reading time. Also added to that, my sister needed an extra pair of eyes while she was doing something that could have some pretty big, very obvious side effects. And so I didn't have to stay up, but I also couldn't sleep yet. So I went ahead and I read, and I actually got quite a bit read last night. In this, we have an heiress who has, at this point, she's on her 3rd husband. I don't feel that that's really a spoiler, since the book is called the 13th Husband. And it's interesting to kind of see her life. This book is taking place in 1890, but it doesn't feel like a historical fiction. It feels more, it honestly, other than the technology differences, it feels very much, or reads very much like a contemporary book. And so I'm really enjoying it and curious to see how things go, because the book has spent a large part of it on these first 3 husbands. I mean, she's just married to the 3rd husband. So I'm wondering how the last 10 are going to come out, because I am at 63% of the novel. So we're gonna see how it goes. I am, like I said, really enjoying the writing style. I love that it reads like a contemporary, even though it takes place in the late 1800s, and a lot of things going on in it. It's not, the history is not even really a part of it. She travels by boat, she travels by train, but so you know it's set in those past times, but even that's not the big part of this novel. It is her relationships and everything like that. So the history is not a big part. It does not play a big part in the plot, but it is interesting to see that, some of that history. So I'm going to get back to reading, and I will check in with you guys at the end of the book. Hello everyone, so it is August 16th. It's been a while since I've updated because of me being in Oregon, watching my nieces and nephews. I did not have a lot of time for reading. It kind of came in sporadic bits and pieces if I got up earlier than them or stayed up later than them. But I did finish The 13th Husband on the flight home between Portland and Denver, and then my second flight I started The Volcano Daughters. So, final thoughts for The 13th Husband. Overall, this was a well-told story. There are moments where you're a little confused about the numbers, but so was our main character, Amy. And there did come a point where I was wondering how everything was going to add up, or if this book was going to become a series, because I was too far into the book and there weren't enough husbands. But the author works that out as well throughout the thing, and Amy figures out where her 13 husbands come from. And this was a story that was intriguing all the way through. This is part of the reason why I didn't read as much while I was at my sister's house, because there were no slow points in the plot for me. At every moment, something was happening. There were no lulls. And I was worried that if I was reading while the kids were up, that I would get grumpy when they interrupted my reading, because I didn't want to put the book down when I was picking it up. So many times I would just wait until the evening. I'd get a couple chapters read and then pass out. At the end of the book, the author does have an author's note, because this is a historical fiction based off of a real character. So seeing the author's note and who Amy was and what parts of the story were accurate, which parts were that like the timeline was changed a little bit, or places to make it less confusing for the reader, and even some things that were added completely that weren't true to her life. And then the discussion questions at the end of the book were really thought-provoking, and this is one that I think would lend itself very easily to a book club pick because of how much it encourages discussion. And like I said, even though it took me nearly 2 weeks to read this book, I did enjoy it, and I am going to give it 5 stars. Now, all of this I did because I was on the airplane and didn't want to pull out my camera and try to record a clip. I wrote my notes down when I finished it, and that, as soon as I finished that one, I went ahead because of the date and started The Volcano Daughters. And this one I am really enjoying. I'm trying to look it up so that I can tell you where it takes place. So this is a debut, and it takes place in El Salvador. And the main storyline is following Gracia, and she is a young girl who was born on the next to a volcano. Before she was born, her older sister was basically kidnapped by their father and taken to the capital city, where he served as second in command under El Gran Pendejo, the Great Fool. And with this, you have 4 of the girls who were raised with Gracia who are actually telling the story. Sorry, I looked away and my camera went wonky. So it's their friends, Gracia's and Consuelo's sister, and Gracia's and Consuelo, Gracila's older sister, friends who are telling the story. And with this, when Gracia is around 9, her father dies, and his wife, who is not the girl's mother, takes Gracia and basically starts raising her as her own in the capital, the same that she did for Consuelo. And everything going on in this story just leads you to this very heartbreaking moment. I'm only about 20% into the book. Gracia has just been brought to the capital and has met her sister Consuelo for the first time, and the whole reason she's been brought is because El Gran Pendejo believes that she is basically her father reincarnated. That his spirit is in her. Some interesting mysticism stuff, which El Gran Pendejo was really into. What's really neat for me is both of the arcs I have for August kind of take place around the same time, just in different locations. With the 13th husband, we had Amy, who's traveling New York and England, Japan, these kind of touristy places for the elite. And then flipping this, we have El Gran Pendejo's El Salvador in around the same time period. And this man is just enthralled in the mysticism that's going on there, just like Amy was. So it's kind of neat to see that this mysticism and obsession into the occult and the magic of the world was pretty far reaching. It was not just for the elite. It even trickled down all the way to these lower class poorer countries that we see. So I am going to get back to this book. It is a debut, so I am intrigued to see where this author goes and see what I think about it going forward. So I'll check in with you guys very soon. Hello everyone, so it is Sunday, the 7th, 18th, no, Hold on. It is, the 18th. Sunday the 18th. I am now about 2/3 of the way through Volcano Girls by Gina Maria Baubrera. I'm really enjoying this still. We have kind of switched gears. So part 1 is the girls in El Salvador. Part 2 opens up with the girls in California, in the United States. And I think one of the girls is about to head to Paris for art stuff. But overall, I'm really enjoying this. There's a lot going on at any given time, and I'm I'm having a lot less confusion with the language, because as they're learning English, there's a lot less of dipping into the Spanish, but also a lot of them are words that have been used throughout the book, so you kind of start picking up on like which one is laughter and everything else. Laughter is kind of one of the few that's not a curse, but the girls are trying to figure out life in a new country. Time is very different because it is the early or late 1800s, early 1900s. And they technically are here illegally. Both just kind of boarded a ship and appeared. So I am enjoying this, and I'm gonna get reading some more. I have been reading a lot at night lately and finding that if I pick it up, I will go to sleep at certain points and not even remember what happened, so I have to go back a little bit. But I'm going to get reading and put on some sprints and try to get this book finished. And then this afternoon I've got some editing to do from my trip to Oregon and some other little things like that. So I'm going to get to my reading, and I will check in at the end of the book. Hopefully not too long from now. Alright everyone, so I have done it. I have reached the end of the Volcano Daughters. Overall, this was a really sweet book. I wasn't expecting it to branch out as much as it did, or to cover as much of it as it did. I really thought by reading the description that we'd kind of have these two sisters who were separated from each other and living in different places. I did not expect to spend so much time in the book with them in their native land in El Salvador. It just seemed to me from the description that we were following two girls who had escaped El Salvador and the dictatorship of El Gran Pendejo. And so to have this have so much, El Gran Pendejo, to have so much of the book to really be wrapped up in their life in El Salvador near the volcano was very unexpected. And then to have them escape separately, and then to just live their lives. The text really, the timeline is really a lot more seamless going in their childhood in El Salvador, and then we jump to later on. And there's a lot more missing space in the story. And by that I just mean we have time jumps throughout it. But overall, I really enjoyed this story. The main characters really are brought to life by the author, and to hear their experiences through this. Now, this one, this one is a historical fiction, but I don't think that there is as much truth in it as there was in the 13th Husband, just because so much of El Salvador's history, especially dealing with these massacres that happened, are lost. We don't know exactly what happened. So overall, really enjoyed the book. I think I'm going to give it 4.5 stars for Storygraph, and then for Battleathon, give it 4 stars. It, compared to the 13th Husband, I feel like, at least for me, it missed the mark a little bit. I did end up having to spend a lot of time looking upwards, and the almost unfortunate part is there was many times I had to pick up my phone to look upwards, because the translator that is in the Kindle Paperwhite just didn't have some of the slang, and so it took a little more research, which then of course takes me out of the reading a little bit, and I have to get back oriented. I also have been dealing with major jet lag coming home, and so it would be of no fault to the book or the author, but I would start reading and my body would tell me it was time to sleep, whether I wanted to or not. So, kind of a me issue for both of those more than for the reading, and I really enjoyed hearing the stories of these indigenous women who grew up near the volcano and then later escaped and had to create a new life here in the United States.